Right guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today I'm in a lightweight, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, turbocharged convertible sports car made by Mercedes-Benz, no less. Okay, I might have over-egged that intro a little bit because I'm in this 2005 Smart Roadster. It has the motor from a Kenwood chef and it looks like the car owned by Noddy and Big Ears. Smart, the company created by Mercedes-Benz and Swatch, made this quirky little sports car from 2003 until 2005. They were quite popular. They actually exceeded the sales targets, but due to a high number of warranty claims, Smart stopped selling them after just 2 years and 43,000 examples. For that reason, the Smart Roadster will be a future classic. Mark my words. What you're looking at here is a 21st century Nissan Figaro. Anyway, enough of that. You probably want to know what it's like. Let me give you some numbers. It's only 3.4 metres long, it's only 1.6 metres wide, and it's only 1.2 metres high. It is tiny, which is quite refreshing. You can park it literally anywhere without wondering whether it'll fit. You can drive over a narrow bridge like I just did then, even if there's a bus coming the other direction, and not panic about clipping a wing mirror. You whiz around in it as if you're on a moped. It's great fun. It's also incredibly cheap to run. The fuel tank's only 35 litres, which is about the same size as a builder's mug of tea. It'll do about 50 miles per gallon. Road tax here in the UK is only £130 a year, and insurance is cheap. This would make a great first car, actually. Thinking about it, I'd love one of these as a first car. It's just much more interesting than an Igo or a Corsa. I mean, look at it. It's brilliant. It's got the face of a clown with a painted-on smiling face. The rear end looks like nothing else. It gets attention and it just makes people smile. It's not at all threatening. Because it's badged as a Smart rather than a Mercedes or a Porsche or a BMW, nobody thinks you're a show-off. They're all multicoloured, so you'll never lose it in a car park, unless, of course, it's parked behind a Range Rover. It's just weird, but in a good way. It doesn't take itself too seriously. What's really clever is that inside it doesn't feel tiny at all. In fact, the exact opposite, it feels quite roomy. I've got plenty of headroom, plenty of elbow room, and the seats are nice and comfortable. Everything inside the Roadster is made of plastic, and it doesn't feel cheap. It all feels surprisingly solid. There are a couple of drawbacks, however. There aren't any cup holders, there isn't much interior storage, and the glove compartment is, well, just that. While I've got my criticising head on, the pedals are too close together. So close you often find yourself pressing them both at the same time, and there's nowhere for my left leg. And that will just annoy most people, unless of course your name's Heather Mills. Engine-wise, there was only one choice. It's this 698cc 3-cylinder turbo. It makes a great noise, it's quite raspy, has a growl to it. It's safe to say there's a fair amount of wind and road noise, and because it's so small you do feel all the bumps. But really, what did you expect? It's a bit like the Smart 4 too. When you sat here at 70 miles an hour, it does feel quite twitchy. The whole car just feels like a Jack Russell puppy. It's full of energy. With just 80 brake horsepower though, its bark is definitely worse than its bite. Thankfully it weighs less than 800 kilograms, so it never feels lethargic. Something else that's clever is that most of the body panels are plastic, so they can be swapped over in a matter of minutes. This isn't a quick car by any means, but thanks to its incredibly low driving position, it feels as though you sat about an inch off the ground. It feels like you're in a proper old-fashioned sports car. It also has a very low centre of gravity. Now those things combined mean that it just exaggerates everything, so it feels like you're going much faster than you actually are. It'll do 0 to 60. Honestly, it will. It'll do 0 to 60 in around 11 seconds, and then top out at 109. The handling is superb, it's so agile. It can change direction in the blink of an eye. It feels like a little fish being chased by a predator. Obviously, given the Roadster's diminutive size, you might struggle if this were to be your only car. The boot, for example, is virtually useless. I've been thinking of possible uses for it. I think if you're a member of the Brownies or the Girl Guides and you want to carry a tray of freshly baked cookies, then it's ideal. But for anything else,
not so much.
Thankfully, there is a front boot. If you open the glove compartment and pull on the red lever, it exposes a small but very usable space. Alright, it's not the boot of a Lincoln Town car, but you'll easily fit a couple of bags of shopping from the supermarket in there. But as a second car, I think it's great. If I lived in the city centre, for example, and parking was an issue, then I'd have one. I think it'd be a great, fun alternative. Thinking about it, this would be perfect for a congested European city. You can imagine whizzing around Madrid or Paris or Rome in one of these. It'd be perfect. In fact, remember that film with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz, Night and Day? There was a car chase, I think, towards the end. Pretty sure that was Madrid. Anyway, it featured 3 Smart Roadsters. Can't have been Madrid because there was a bull run. It may have been Pamplona. Anyway, if you remember the film, you'll remember that scene. See, it feels like I'm doing 190, and I'm actually doing 48 miles an hour. There is one part of this car that I can't ignore for any longer, and that, unfortunately, is this 6-speed semi-automatic gearbox. It's the only gearbox that was available. If you press this button on the side of the gear lever, then it goes into standard automatic mode, so you don't need to worry about changing the gears up or down yourself. But if you want a little bit more involvement, then you can flick it back or forward to change the ratios yourself. The trouble with this box is it's just so slow to respond. Tectonic plates move with more haste. You find yourself enjoying the handling, enjoying the noise from the engine, and you're making some good progress, so you think, right, I want another gear. And then about 12 seconds later, it presents you with another gear, by which time the mood's gone. It's a pity they never offered this car with 3 pedals and a manual gearbox, because it would have just made the car so much more fun. Imagine this car, but with the gearbox from an MX-5. Short and snappy. The other issue with this car is getting in and out of it. Every time I walk up to it and open the door, I've got to think, right, how did I get in it last time? And it's the same thing when you arrive at your destination, you've got to get out again. You open the door and you think, right, was it legs first? I found the best way is to imagine that you're the queen dismounting your horse. Legs out first, and then your backside. One of the most appealing things about this car is that it looks like something you might find in the centre aisle of Aldi. You know what I mean, don't you? Next to the chainsaws, right in between the dogs' beds and the bongos. I mentioned at the start of this video that it's a convertible. Well, it's more of a Targa really. You see, this roof lifts off. Some were fitted with a sliding canvas top, but this one has 2 solid panels that are stored in the boot. A bit like one of those T-bar convertibles that you'd get from the 90s, only, you know, without the T-bar bit. Used prices here in the UK start at around £3,000. For £5,000, you'll get yourself a nice one with around 50,000 miles on the clock. The good thing is, if you look after it, it won't depreciate. Your other options are something like a Daihatsu Copen or a Renault Wind. But honestly, the Smart Roadster is just more fun. Now, with regards to servicing, I'd recommend that you stick with a specialist. Because these are a little bit oddball, I think it's better if you go to somebody who knows what they're doing. I recently had a full service done on this by SPR in Stockport, who are a Mercedes and Smart specialist. Now, that cost me around £200. I could have got it done at my local garage for probably £140, £150, but I thought it was better to go to somebody who knew what they were doing with this brand of car. You can have head gasket issues if you go for one with high miles that might have had a hard life. You can also have water leaks if you opt for one with a fabric roof. If you're unlucky, you might have issues with the gearbox too. Hence why I say just take it to a specialist. They'll look after it and make sure you don't have a massive bill. The key fob buttons also disintegrate. Now, it hasn't happened with this particular example because it's only done 13,000 miles, but every single other Smart I've ever had, I've had to replace the key shell. Now, that'll set you back around £15 from eBay. One interesting quirk is that on the key fob, the button for the boot actually shows a Smart 4.2 rather than a Smart Roadster. Sorry, maybe interesting wasn't the right word there, but it's certainly a quirk. Well, I think that pretty much concludes my time with the Smart Roadster. If you've never driven one, then I urge you to do so because they're just great fun. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you're interested in getting into the used car business, then check out my online course. I've created an online platform with nearly 100 videos which explain every single aspect of the used car business. From funding options to where to buy stock to how to prepare your cars for sale. It's all there, so do check it out. Also, check out my merch at highpeakstore.co.uk. Cheers guys, I'll see you next time.